Our first story is going to be from user ComfortChance4212 and is titled DM Railroaded My Character and Then Killed Me When I Was Away. The story goes as such. Hi, so all this happened around a year ago. It was my first time playing D&D, and I decided to play Artificer because I thought the class looked fun and interesting. The DM warned me not to. Apparently, Artificer was this deadly ancient magic, and I was told I'd never be able to learn spells, I'd have 5 health, and die instantly. Not joking. Besides this, I decided to play it. The DM gave me a few weird offhand comments, but it was whatever. Okay, this sounds like a DM that doesn't like artificers or doesn't think artificers will fit in their world, and maybe either just they don't fit in the world, they just don't want to DM it and have to deal with it, which is fine, but the response they gave was very open-ended and allowed OP to essentially play that class. In these instances, if you don't want a class to be played, just say, hey, these don't fit in the world, or sorry, that's a banned class. Or, hey, I don't like dealing with artificers, can you please pick something else? Saying you'll allow something but then nerfing it into the ground by limiting spells, lowering health, and threatening instant death is just shitty. Not to victim blame, but I'm not sure why OP would continue to play an artificer. If my DM said, oh, you can play this, but it'll be super limited, I'd be hesitant to play that class or character. But this could just be because they're new at the game and aren't maybe used to what happens in tabletop RPGs or just used to like playing those. So let's continue though. Fast forward 3 to 4 sessions, I'm having fun, doing really well despite what DM said. The party's having a blast, we reached level 3. I told my DM for my subclass I wanted to be an armorer, but the DM told me I should be an alchemist. I told the DM, hey, I read about all of them and alchemist isn't what I want to play. Can I play armorer? And he said I really needed to play alchemist or else the party would die, because apparently we needed a healer. We had 2 clerics and a paladin. Okay. I get the want to maybe balance a party out a bit, but with 2 clerics and a paladin, unless those players like never use healing spells or healing magic or healing abilities, the party really doesn't need another healer. This DM is just railroading OP's character development. If the issue is the clerics and paladin don't use their healing, maybe the DM should talk to them about being willing to use that type of magic instead of just railroading OP's PC. Or if you don't like the subclass, because the armor subclass I think is one of the stronger ones for the artificer. The alchemist is considered one of the weaker ones, not to like say you shouldn't do either or, but if I recall correctly, the armor is one of the stronger ones. If you do not like a subclass specifically with a class, just say it. Just be communicative. Just be like, hey, I think armors are super strong. I don't want them in this campaign. Or, hey, I don't think armors fit in this world for some reason. I don't want them in the campaign. Just communicate it. All you gotta do. Use your words. TTRPGs have a lot of talking. You should just use your words. In the next session, despite what I said, the DM forced my character to be an alchemist and kind of forced me to do a lot of things I didn't want to. My choices were basically useless. The atmosphere was a little off, but I kept playing reluctantly. Then I got sick and I caught pneumonia. Ooh, sorry, OP. So I was out for a good week and then I was resting for 2 more because of the damage I suffered. I found out through friends we were running the campaign that while I was away, the BBEG had kidnapped my character, cut off my hand, and then killed me. The DM did not tell me anything about this. I did not go back to that game. Oh, good golly, that's kind of fucked up. Okay, I don't blame them for not going back. This DM is a dick. You, as a DM, should not force your PCs to be a specific subclass. It's one thing to ban, you can offer them to play a specific subclass. You may say no to specific subclasses, but you should not force them to play a subclass they do not want to play. Also, them killing out the PC while they're sick is a massive dick move. I'm always shocked when these things happen and multiple people at the table aren't at the very least concerned that the DM is being a power-hungry dick. Like, if he'll fuck over OP, he'll fuck you too, right? I mean, hopefully OP has found a better table with a DM that can communicate a bit better on what is and is not allowed, and one that doesn't fucking kill your PC off screen when you don't want it to happen in that way anyway. Either way, bad DM, bad DM, bad DM. Continue on to our next story. Our next story is going to be from user Infinite One Corridor titled GM's Girlfriend Ruins Game Before It Starts. And it goes as such. Relatively lighthearted horror story here, but still funny in hindsight. The setup for the story is pretty basic. I responded to a looking for group post, looking for Blades in the Dark players. Blades in the Dark is I think it's a grim dark fantasy system. And I met with the GM and his girlfriend, ? who felt the need to sit in on the initial interview. Not that big of a deal generally, but it did strike me as odd. Whatever, they both seemed cool, and I pitched my character and talked about safety tools, lines, and veils specifically. My character was using the slide playbook. Think a slinky spy character who's good at talking to people. There are moves for gaining bonuses to rolls against targets that you have an intimate relationship with, etc. And was an exotic dancer and sex worker from a demonic homeland who used the dances that were used to pacify demons in his homeland as an act to entertain sleazy nobles. I wanted to play with the themes of commodifying and sexualizing important cultural arts and asking the question of whether his profession and skills were empowering or degrading. Fun stuff tends to fit well in a grimy, crime-infested setting like Duskfall, the main setting of Blades in the Dark. However, the sexual themes of the character and the inclusion of sex work as a theme can be touchy for some people, so I was careful to discuss this up front. This becomes important later. Props to OP being upfront about the risque nature of their PC. It is definitely an interesting story to tell and one that won't fit at every table. Definitely we need to communicate do's and don'ts with this PC, both what can happen to them and what they can and cannot do to others. It's a bit odd the girlfriend sat in on the interview. I would normally suggest that if you're going to interview people, the DM just be the one to interview. They should know what will be allowed or won't be allowed at the table, and hopefully they also have some kind of idea of how the other players will kind of act. Some people don't respond well to being interviewed. It can be very nerve-wracking, and it can be even more difficult for them when there's multiple people involved and you're trying to say the right things or come off the right way so you can hopefully get in at a table or perhaps at a job if we're pushing interview fully out to its extent here. So I hop in the Discord for pre-session 0 to brainstorm, and the GM and his girlfriend spend the entire time talking with an old friend of theirs, also a player in the game, about Minecraft server drama. At this point, I'm mildly annoyed, but since session 0 was scheduled for later that week, I shrugged it off and prepped for that. During session 0, I said I was on a time crunch since I had a doctor's appointment, and I was assured we could get things done in a few hours. So this thing kind of happens. Tables will sometimes go off course because the group are all friends. It happens at my tables. It's a natural course when you're friends with everybody at the table. Though, if there is another friend of theirs at the table, it's weird to me that the girlfriend was in on the interview, but not the friend then. I wonder if she doesn't trust her DM boyfriend. A good DM, though, should try to get everybody back on track quick or get the important shit done so that way they can all chit-chat about Minecraft server drama or whatever the fuck you want to talk about. So for the first 45 minutes to an hour of session 0, GM's girlfriend, and GM's other friend talk about group drama. At some point during this conversation, I say that I have my appointment coming up, so could we please talk about character concepts and what crew playbook everyone was interested in. The other players agree, and everyone has a character concept prepped. Everyone except GM's girlfriend, who had the vague idea of playing, quote, a mad scientist who reanimates corpses. That's it. Okay, so this can be flushed out through brainstorming. The group seems to be into the idea of playing assassins, so we brainstorm a group dynamic and throw some bones at GM's girlfriend about how her character could use poisons and contraptions to pull off some assassinations. The addition is necessary because just reanimating the dead is a whole process in Blades in the Dark, and her character would need to be able to contribute to the group on missions. So the DM's girlfriend not having a full PC idea isn't necessarily horrible. She and the DM could obviously and probably should handle the finishing touches of this outside of session 0. Hopefully the campaign concept of being a group of assassins was mentioned ahead of time as like a preamble. Dropping the entire campaign concept can be a lot for session 0 when you're trying to come up with your characters that are going to fit within that concept. Not horribly the end of the world though, because some people utilize session 0 entirely to come up with their concept, the ideas, everything that's going to happen. It can be a lot to shove into session 0, and if you're going to do that, you need to keep shit on track. You need to be like, hey, we're here, here's our concept, what are your ideas, what are the do's and don'ts, what's everybody doing, all that stuff. Like if you're going to do all of that in session 0, you need to have your shit on track. Don't be chit-chatting about server drama or whatever the fuck. GM's girlfriend is really quiet throughout the process, and GM is contributing here and there. Then GM's girlfriend suddenly leaves the call, and GM leaves to talk to his girlfriend while the rest of us just talk about character dynamics. 30 minutes later, our happy couple returns, and GM says that not everyone in the group wanted to play as assassins. I wonder who that everyone is, and we should try and be mindful of what everyone wants. Everyone awkwardly moves on to be thieves or smugglers instead, but because of this diversion, we don't finish up session 0 and have to continue at a later date. So the party was determining campaign concept in session 0. I personally haven't played Blades in the Dark. Perhaps this is how the system is played, but generally, your GM or DM will have an idea of what they want for a campaign, short form, long form. What are the themes going to be? They'll have those already kind of planned out, and they will usually float that out to the party. Also, the girlfriend has absolutely no maturity. Just rage quitting the call because you don't want to be an assassin is not cool. It's okay to not want to play that, don't get me wrong, but say it. Use your words, discussing things in session 0 like you're kind of supposed to. Wow, what a fucking thought. The next day, right before another game I was jamming, I received a message in the server from GM's girlfriend about how she doesn't want any flirting between PCs and NPCs because, and I quote, "That's my boyfriend," smiley face. At this point, contemplating a lobotomy, I asked, "So basically I need to completely scrap my character concept?" She responded with an, "I guess so, yeah." I shrugged and dropped the campaign immediately, stating that I wasn't interested in playing because of the poor communication, and left the server. Then, GM's girlfriend proceeds to slide into my DM, sending me 8 to 10 messages as I begin GMing for my friends, asking me why I was leaving and to answer her. I tell her that I'm in a game at the moment and will respond later, and then she proceeds to message me repeatedly throughout my session. Eventually, I messaged back stating that I did not like how my work on a character was basically thrown away on a boundary that I explicitly asked about multiple times and got a green flag on, and that it was poor communication at best, which is 100% valid. I also said I didn't like the GM girlfriend's behavior of leaving when she didn't like what everyone was going with for session 0 despite her refusal to communicate. Again, valid. And then having her boyfriend step in for her after she threw a tantrum. She shot back at me by accusing me of commandeering the game because I asked if we could move on from the damn Minecraft server drama and actually play, and said that it wasn't fair to expect her to be comfortable speaking in front of everyone, and that she didn't know she'd have to have a concept prepped. At this point, I ended the conversation by saying that if she and her boyfriend couldn't act like adults and communicate with everyone honestly, then they probably shouldn't be bothering to play RPGs, because throwing tantrums and leaving instead of asking to change things isn't acceptable at all. Neither was randomly changing boundaries and forcing people to scrap concepts. I told her not to message me again, and that was that. Okay, I can understand not wanting romance at the table, but that has to be something brought up in session 0. Do's and don'ts, which OP clearly brought up here. He said, "Hey, I've got this plan. I want to have this kind of quasi-sex worker, exotic dancer," heavily implying that there may be, maybe not romance, but there will be sexual themes at the table. Got the green light, and nobody caused any fuss or had any issues at that point in time. OP is absolutely right to feel like they're being fucked over, because they are. They put all that work into a concept and made it well known, and now it's not allowed per the quote DM's girlfriend because she doesn't like it or whatever. If she's afraid OP is going to woo her boyfriend because his male sex worker is going to put the moves on some NPC, she needs to grow the fuck up. The people don't understand that NPCs aren't the DM. They're the characters that the DM happens to be portraying, but they aren't the DM. Now, if OP was making moves in the DM, being flirtatious with the DM, not NPCs, the DM, I totally get it. Also, if any players had issues with the character that is definitely going to be sexualized, you need to be upfront about it, especially when it's an entire character concept. If it's, for example, a PC was not originally going to be sexualized in concept, and when they're playing the game, maybe they grow into the idea of this character being more sexual and they start flirting with people or whatever, NPCs or what have you, and you don't become comfortable with it. Yeah, at that point, it's okay to say, hey, I see that this character's kind of growing in this direction a little bit more. I'm personally not comfortable with it, could you maybe tone it down a bit? But when you come up with a character and that entire character's idea is that they are going to be sexualized and that they are going to do sexual things, and they are upfront saying, hey, this character is going to look for some dick or ass or whatever, and you don't have a problem with it, that's on you. You allowed and greenlit as a player, a DM, whatever, this whole concept, and to go to that player and go, nah, fuck you, bro, it's shitty at best. Later, I received a message from another player who also dropped the game asking me what happened, which was kind of funny. I feel like I dodged a bullet on this one, and in hindsight, it's kind of funny. Oh, and an important addition, I was the youngest person involved in the story at age 22. If my memory serves me correctly, the GM and his girlfriend were in their mid-20s. Yeah, miss me with that shit. OP dodged a bullet. I'd be concerned if I was playing at a table that didn't communicate. I understand some topics are awkward, but if people are uncomfortable, you need to let others know. The goal of TTRPGs is to have fun and tell a story. Everyone at the table should want everyone else to have fun. That means sharing the spotlight. That means sharing what is and is not allowed, or what you are and are not comfortable with. With how the girlfriend acts, I'd be concerned this table isn't going to blow up from some drama because one PC accidentally said hi too affectionately to an NPC or some bullshit. Before we jump onto our last story here, I would like to let you all know I stream on Twitch. Check me out at twitch.tv/Vandavey. Links are down in the description. I stream throughout the week and I play a multitude of different games. I would love it if you come and hang out. If you're interested, please do follow. Jumping on to our last story though. Our last story is going to be a little bit of a weird one. It's from user The Real Lycala. I may have mispronounced your name. Titled DM creates an entire ban list of races, subclasses, and spells. And we're going to actually read through that entire ban list and we're going to talk about it. So let's get that list pulled up here. Let's start with our banned species or races. We've got Bugbear due to long limb trait and surprise attack ability. Aarakocra due to flying speed. Triton due to resistance to cold and fire and the control water ability. Yuan-Ti Pureblood due to magic resistance, immunity to poison. 3 different types of Aasimar due to healing, Radiant Soul, Radiant Consumption, Necrotic Resistance, Necrotic Shroud, and additional damage being allowed. Tabaxi due to their feline agility and climb speed. Furbolg due to Detect Magic, Disguise Self, and Speech of Beast and Leaf. Goliath due to powerful build in stones and endurance. Kenku due to expert forgery and mimicry. Lizardfolk due to natural armor, bite attack, and cunning artisan. Triton due to control water, cold, and fire resistance. Githyanki due to decent stats and martial prowess. Githrizel due to Githrizel psionics. Kalashnatar due to mind link and resistance to psychic damage. Changeling due to shape change and deception abilities. Warforged due to immunity to poison, sleep, and disease, and a self-repair ability. Satyrs due to magic resistance and charm resistance. Minotaurs due to horn attack and some resilience features. Ooh, we're still continuing here. Centaurs due to charge attack and hooves. Loxodons, which are Are they bunny people? No. Loxodons due to natural armor and powerful build. Leonin due to temporary boosted AC and with their main 3 different kinds of shifters due to bonus HP increases to AC, bite attacks and increased damage, or advantage on tracking and some speed boost. Turtle due to natural armor and retractable claws. Multiple forms of Tiefling due to Infernal Legacy and Flight, tail attacks and other physical boosts, and innate spellcasting and bonus spells, but everything other than that flies. Okay, so kind of just going over this. I can understand some of these things being banned. Some DMs like to ban species that have a fly speed because flying is very strong, especially early on in D&D. So I totally understand wanting to ban something like Aarakocra or potentially some of the, what else has a fly speed? I think some of the Tieflings also get it at some point. One of the Aasimar might get it, but I don't think that's until later on. Potentially, I think the Aasimar, if I'm remembering correctly, get stuff as they kind of level up. They were a weird one. I can understand banning things because they don't fit your world. You know, Warforged, super hard to fit in a world. They are a Warforged, for those of you who don't know, they are a race of constructs. Constructs is a better word. You know, think the Iron Giant kind of, but not, you know, as massive. And some people don't like them because they're hard to fit in, because then you have to come up with a concept for why is there a sentient construct being that exists in the world that is doing stuff. So I can understand maybe if some of these don't fit. The reasoning in the list that the DM has provided here is mainly because it gives you bonuses to stuff, which I'm kind of shocked on, because some of these things are things you get resistances to, bonuses against, whatever, with some of your standard classes. I noticed Elf is still in here. I noticed Dwarf is still in here. Basically anything in the player's handbook is still in here. You know, Dragonborn are in here. Gnomes, halflings, humans, dwarves, elves. You know, all of those are still here. So, I mean, really what the DM should have said is, I don't want anything that's not from the player's handbook. And that would have saved everybody a ton of time. Again, this seems more like they don't want their players to have, you know, powers, abilities, cool shit. Instead, they just want them to be John Human Man, which, I mean, is fine if you want an entire party of John Human Man, but just say, hey, for this campaign idea, I thought you all could be John Human Man, you know, not, hey, be whatever you want, but also don't be all of this potentially cool shit here. I do notice that there are no lycanthropes banned from this list. That's an interesting thing. Normally, a lot of people don't like lycanthropes because, again, that throws a weird curveball in, and you get a lot of resistance as a lycanthropy. Let's move on to the next one, though. Banned classes include Twilight Domain Cleric because it provides powerful defensive and healing abilities. I can understand that. Twilight Cleric is probably one of the strongest subclasses for Cleric. They offer a lot of temp HP. They have the ability to remove Charmed and Frightened, which is super strong. At a certain level, they also get the ability in Dim Light to fly around, which their Channel Divinity creates dim light around them. So they have the ability to fly around in a bubble of dim light. So I can understand that. Divine Soul Sorcerer combines the versatility of Sorcerer with Cleric spells. That's a bit weird. Again, maybe that doesn't fit with the world, but let's use our words here. Other than it sounds like he just doesn't like the fact that they get to do two different things potentially here. Coffee Lock, Warlock Sorcerer combination, uses short rest to convert Warlock spells slots to sorcery points, and then creates sorcery spell slots without the long rest levels of exhaustion. So I get that. Coffee Lock can be kind of strong. It can be kind of broken. Maybe you don't want power gamers. Maybe this DM has had some bad experiences with some power gamers in the past, and they just don't want to deal with that again. I totally understand that. At my table, in my tables, some of the players I play with have a tendency to build very competently. I'm not saying they're trying to power build or power game or break shit or do meta builds or whatever, but they tend to build quite competently and quite strong, which can be a pain in the ass to balance for, especially if you have other players at the table who maybe don't build as strong. All of my players have a tendency to build relatively competently, even if they're not trying to make it the strongest at something. But I can understand if you're at a table, you have like some new players who don't know how to play, and you have other players who are like making the most meta build ever by level 5. I'm hitting for 100 HP a turn kind of malarkey where if the stars align and the moons and the planets, I get to do a bajillion damage and one-shot something. So I can kind of understand that. Hexblade Warlock, a subclass that allows charisma for melee attacks, making for a potent Gish spell sword. I guess I could understand this again if it doesn't fit with your world, but Hexblade is also probably one of the stronger Warlock classes, so kind of getting rid of it is a little shitty. Lore Bard combines skill versatility with magic support. Part of the fun of Bard is being able to do a lot of things. I think in 2024 they get expertise and stuff. In 2014 they do not, except through the various subclasses you get kind of like expertise or half proficiency with stuff, and you get a shit ton of skill proficiencies. That's kind of the fun of Bard. They're meant to be utility. They're meant to be face of the party. They're meant to have utility abilities and do a lot of stuff and maybe not necessarily be the hardest hitting thing in combat. Yeah, it sounds like the DM just doesn't like strong stuff. You know, maybe strong in the utility face class, face, of the party sense. Shepherd Druid summoning and buffing abilities. Summoning can be very broken. I can kind of understand it. Still, we're banning a lot of stuff here. Battlemaster Fighter, superior combat maneuvers. That's a weird one. There's not a ton of really good fighter subclasses, and that's one to ban. Moon Druid, powerful wild shape options. But that's like the fun druid to play. If you want to do like, you want to shapeshift, that's like the fun one. Why are you shitting on that? Sun Soul Monk, ranged attack capabilities for a traditional melee focused class. Gloomstalker Ranger, enhanced stealth and combat abilities. Gloomstalker Ranger is like the strongest ranger class, and like the rest of them really aren't that great. Why are we shooting Ranger in the knee? That's not cool. Sorlock, Sorcerer Warlock combination combines the best of both spellcasting worlds. Again, I can understand it. It's a very strong multi-class option, but at that point, maybe just ban multi-classing. Conquest Paladin, strong crowd control and fear effects. That's a weird one to ban. Why not Vengeance Paladin? Vengeance Paladin's like one of the strongest Paladin subclasses. Conquest is one of the weakest. I could swear it was like one of the most mid-tier ones. Oath of Ancients Paladin, resilient tank with anti-magic aura. Does not like people to have fun. Zealot Barbarian, near immortal tanking capabilities. This is like this class, other than this like abilities, kind of sucks. Like their whole thing is once you hit a certain level, and it's pretty deep into I think you're closing on level 10, 11 when you get this finally, is the Zealot Barbarian has an ability where as long as you're raging, even if you hit 0 HP, you still keep going. And then once your rage ends, after you've hit 0 HP, you drop and start making death saves immediately. Okay. Eldritch Knight Fighter combines martial prowess with arcane spellcasting. The arcane spellcasting really ain't that great. So that's a weird one. Also kind of shits on you if you wanted to play like a battle mage. Like if I wanted to be a battle mage, that's the way to get to do battle mage really easily. Assassin Rogue, high burst damage potential. The whole point of rogues is to have high burst potential. One attack per turn, one of your hits per turn, you're going to hit like a truck. And that's like the whole point of being a rogue. Assassin Rogue, especially if you get to go first. Like you're supposed to do the super cool opening hit, you take out something. Arcane Trickster Rogue combines rogue sneakiness with spellcasting. DM just doesn't like people to have fun. Drake Warden Ranger summons and bonds with a Dragonling companion. I personally don't know a ton about this class. Maybe the Dragonling is super strong. I'm going to err more on the side of this DM just doesn't want people to have fun. Again, if this doesn't fit the world, that makes sense. But the reasoning isn't this doesn't fit the world. The reasoning is it can summon a Dragonling and do stuff with that Dragonling. Abjuration Wizard, exceptional defenses against spell damage. That kind of is the point of it. Like, has the ability to cast shield, and it can cast abjuration magic more easily. Evocation Wizard, high damage output with spells. Again, I want to have Fireball. Let me have my Fireball. Don't. Shadow Sorcerer, strong survivability and crowd control. If the class just gets to do something cool or has an ability to do something cool, like we just say fuck it and don't allow it. Ancestral Guardian Barbarian protects allies by redirecting the whole point of the Barbarian is it's supposed to tank. Fuck you if you want to tank and be better at tanking. The fuck? Divination Wizard. I love Divination Wizard. Ability to influence outcomes by manipulating dice rolls. I can kind of understand this. So Divination Wizards have an ability called Portent. It's one of the strongest, I feel like, wizard abilities you get early on. Is at the beginning of each day, you get to roll 2d20. And whatever those d20 results are, at any point, once per turn, as long as you see something happening, be an attack, an ability check, a saving throw, whatever, you can like go, nah, you're not going to actually roll that. The result is whatever one of these two dies are. It can be super strong if you get 1s and 20s especially, but it's only twice per day. So, bruh. Oathbreaker Paladin, strong offensive capabilities and necrotic damage. Paladins are just also, they do a lot of damage. They smite. That's their whole point, is they smite. Swashbuckler Rogue, superior dueling capabilities. They also have the ability to kind of charm people to get them to kind of focus on them, and they get their sneak attack off a lot more easily if they're 1v1ing somebody. It's kind of cool. Tempest Cleric deals heavy damage and controls the battlefield. Again, you can't have fun with this DM. Valor Bard combines bardic inspiration with martial abilities. Fuck you if you want to be utility and also be at the front lines. Blade Singer Wizard, melee combat combined with arcane prowess. Again, fuck you if you want to be on the front line. Celestial Warlock combines healing and range damage. Fuck you if you want to do more than just heal. Necromancer Wizard controls undead and deals with necrotic magic. Again, I can understand not wanting a necrotic wizard in the party for story reasons. Maybe it doesn't fit the world. Maybe this world really hates necromancy. Maybe, because a lot of players have a tendency to play necromancer super fucking evil, you don't want it for that reason. But that's not the reason here. The reason is because they control undead and they deal necrotic damage. This DM just doesn't want people to have fun. This DM sucks. Like, what's the one class you can play? It's like fucking fighter. They all could be fighter. And monk. Most monk classes. Okay, cool. John Human the Fighter is an entire party of John Human the Fighter. Fucking Jesus. Okay, and then our last one are banned spells. This should be very interesting. I'm sure it's going to be fireballing. Anything remotely fun. The last part of this is going to be banned spells. These include Silvery Barbs. I understand the hate for Silvery Barbs. Silvery Barbs is a first level spell. You use as a reaction to cast. Anytime somebody makes a roll, basically, you can just go, nope, you're going to re-roll it. Also, I give somebody advantage on their next roll. I hate Silvery Barbs. I hate it with a passion. It is one of my least favorite spells in the game. I currently kind of allow it in one of my main campaigns right now. But next campaign, I'm gonna ban it. I think I'm just gonna ban everything from Strixhaven, which is what it's from. I think in the right setting, I think Silvery Barbs works. Like, Silvery Barbs is built for Strixhaven. Strixhaven is a supplemental campaign setting book where you, as the party, are going to Magic College. It's like a weird multi-dimensional college, and you're learning magic stuff. And so, like, the whole system's built around being a college student and whatnot, and everybody has the ability to do magic. So Silvery Barbs makes more sense there because you're more likely to run into, like, literally everybody's going to be casting magic. Everybody has magic. So if you cast Silvery Barbs, somebody's going to counterspell it or cast Silvery Barbs or whatever. I personally just don't like it outside of that, just because it's a level 1 spell and it only takes a reaction to cast. It is a really potent, early, essentially counterspell. The issue you also run into is when you have multiple PCs in the party that all have Silvery Barbs, you end up in situations where your big boss character goes to make an attack against a party member, natural 20. Your one of your characters goes, no, Silvery Barbs. You reroll, maybe you still hit, and the PCs know this thing hits like a truck. And so then another PC who has Silvery Barbs goes, no, and negates it then, so you have to reroll it again. And then you reroll again, and maybe you still hit. And then another PC goes, no, we're not going to have fun. So I completely understand it. I don't like it. I've had some bad experiences with it. After we had this, I had a talk with my table. I was like, this is not cool. This is really not fun. It's harder for me to balance. It sucks when you create drama and fun shit with the dice and you have a boss that hits super hard and then just the entire party blows a bunch of level 1 spells to just say no, and they can do it every turn because the reaction comes back. So you're just like, cool, you're gonna blow all these spell slots, but I'm gonna also not kind of get to do anything to make challenge at the table, and it's not fun. The wish spell, I can understand this, but that's also a 9th level spell. You ain't getting that shit till way balls deep in the game. We're talking like level, what is it, like 16, 17? I think it's like level 17 plus. Like that's a way down the line. True Polymorph's another one of those. Simulacrum, I can understand. Some people power game with it, create clones of themselves. But again, that's way down the line. You're not going to have that. Power Word Kill. That's another 9th level spell way down the line. That's a fun one. I love that one. I opened up with a boss fight recently with that one in a PC. Scared the shit out of the party. I loved it. Meteor Swarm, big damage. I can understand it, I guess. But also, that's a super high level spell that ain't happening until way later. Feeble Mind. It's not going to be used all the time. Time Stop. Again, that's another 9th level one. That ain't going to get used a ton. Mass Suggestion. This one's not 9th level. I think it's 7th? 6th or 7th. I can understand that. A lot of the charm spells can be very strong, and a lot of the charm spells are kind of, at least in the 2014 books, they're kind of open to interpretation. They're not like the most concrete on what you can and can't do and what happens always. Force Cage is another super strong spell. I guess I can kind of understand banning it, but again, that's a super late spell. Imprisonment, Dominate Monster, Invulnerability, Shape Change, Mordenkainen's Magic Mansion. That's a weird one. Mordenkainen's Magic Mansion, you don't want your PCs to maybe have safe sleeping time, long rest time, so I guess I get that. Teleport, you don't want them to move around too quickly. I mean, this person doesn't really like high level spells. Clone, Etherealness, Plane Shift, Foresight, Gate, Delayed Blast, Fireball when combined with certain strategies, apparently. Sunburst, Disintegrate. I can kind of understand that one. If they're sub 100 points, if you hit 0 points HP, you instant shred something. Power Word Kills, if it's 100, sub 100 points, it just instant dies. Magic Jar, Power Word Stun, Autos, Resistible Dance, Prismatic Spray, Anti-Magic Field, and Regenerate can be very potent in the right circumstances. Regenerate, I've really only seen on magic items. This DM seems to be very nervous about a lot of high-level spells. Is he worried his party is going to like meta and be like, I search every single place for a wish scroll. There must be one somewhere. And if that's the case, then you as the DM just don't allow a wish scroll to appear. And unless we're playing like a super high level campaign from the start, these are things you don't need to worry about. I'm gonna be honest, I don't run my D&D into the late game because the problem isn't necessarily that, I mean, the spells are very strong, don't get me wrong, and the abilities you're getting for most of your classes, again, strong. But at that point, it's like you're having to fight gods and demigod tier shit. So like I understand not running it into the late game, but this DM is just everything that's potentially strong late game is like what they're worried about for the most part. And there's a couple in there I kind of agree with, but most of this is just fucking bullshit. This DM's overly controlling. I can understand not wanting to play with this DM. This is way restrictive. Personally, the race restrictions and the class subclass restrictions are way too much, and I don't agree with those. Maybe we don't have the context though that this party is, or this DM has had experience with parties that are very power gamey. But I this DM's going way overboard. That's too much. My suggestion, if you're going to DM, don't do this. And if your reasoning is going to be, don't have these, your reasoning should really be they don't fit the setting, or I just don't enjoy these in the party. It gets kind of ridiculous. Like the problem is this DM went through the entire race list and was like, anything that potentially gets a new damage type or resistance to damage or whatever is just not allowed anymore. And if there's a subclass that gets something fun, we just don't allow it anymore. And that's bullshit. Don't play at this DM's table. That's my suggestion until they fix this. But thank you guys all for hanging out for this weird last story here. That is going to be it for me today. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe if you're enjoying. A lot of you aren't subscribed. And if you subscribe, I appear in your inbox every week. And I would love it if I appeared in your inbox every week if you're enjoying it. Other than that, check me out on Twitch. And I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye, everybody.